Okay, it's that time of the day. It is season 3 in Diablo 3. Oh, woo, 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 woo. What? Why did I turn into Yogi Bear? I don't. Anyways, guys, so in the last video for Diablo 3, I talked about the end of season 2, and then I did a little bit of a preview on season 3. Well, season 3 is here, along with patch 2.2.0. Lots of things to go over, lots of stuff to do. We have new transmorgifying options. We've got new legendary items like this legendary gem, this new obsidian ring of the Zodiac, Ronslar's Folly, some more bracers. So just the short man's finger. Okay. Okay, I mean that's for Witch Doctor, but I mean you get the overall point. There are tons of items. Along with in patch 2.2, potions do not exist anymore. They've taken out your potions. They've instead replaced it with just a potion pool. Every time you use it, it heals 60% of your health, and it prevents you from having to just collect a bunch of them, trying to reduce how much you have to collect, because they've also introduced, along with one of the last patches, they introduced 3 new goblins. In this patch, they've introduced another 3 new goblins. And because of the new goblins, and because of all the extra loot they've been throwing at you, they've been trying to reduce the amount of clicks and looting that you have to perform. So auto looting, when you click an item or certain items in one area, if there's enough, or if there's some in a certain radius, they'll all be collected instead of just one at a time. So a ton of minor and a few major tweaks that have ultimately brought us to patch 2.2, and it's really nice, and I do like it. And then of course we will get this awesome new portrait frame that I kind of like, and this pennant, which I would also like to earn. Oh, I meant to hit start new seasonal character. But one thing that I do want to point out, in the end of season 2 episode, I literally talked about they're giving you all these cosmetics, and you have no real way to switch them, and they gave me a pet, but it just has to sit in my inventory and my storage. Literally, the patch that we were talking about that was upcoming, they fixed the problem that I was having. So already that is not a problem, and I just made that video this last Monday. It's 6 p.m. on Friday when season 3 goes live. That video just went live on Monday. I made it Monday. So before the week was over, they fixed some of my problems. Okay. So let's go ahead and create a season 3 character, and let's get started. Now, I did some thinking. Wizard was the first character that I got to level 70. I did 2 of them. Crusader, I've gotten 1 to level 70 now, and I was on my way to getting a Barbarian to level 70, but the season 2 had ended before I could do it. Now, I've thought about Monk, but I'm not too well versed in Monk yet, so that's something that I would probably want to do off video so that I can feel competent in playing one. Wizard, I haven't gone back to in a while, but ultimately I hadn't spent enough time with the Barbarian, and I think that's where I want to go. So we're going to go with Sentai Wind, because why not? The last Barbarian I made was a woman. We're going to make this one a male for no particular reason. And yes, a new start. Participating in a season gives you the opportunity to reap exclusive rewards. Seasonal heroes start completely fresh and can only play with other seasonal heroes. You will not be able to use non-seasonal items in your stash. You will start at 0 gold, and you will have to retrain your artisans. So, oh crap! I forgot to change the difficulty. I was gonna say let's get right on into it, but we can't. Immediately fucked up. Right. So, totally forgot to change it over to adventure mode, because that is That is something that does carry over from when you did a regular campaign, or if you had achieved that during season. And then we're going to go ahead and change it to master difficulty because I'm a sadistic son of a bitch. I don't know, but I don't mind the story and the acts of Diablo 3, but I do greatly prefer jumping straight into adventure mode. Now, I might do story mode at some point elsewhere, but I don't want to right now. I want to just jump straight into it. And then obviously, immediately all of the artisans unlocked, but I don't have any money to upgrade them. So, Tyrael, how are you doing, buddy? Oh, let's also options sound. Let's raise that up a little bit so that you guys can hear the game a little bit more. Okay. So, Harem Reborn, if you guys have not... if you're not following Diablo 3 lore, the Harem was introduced, I believe, in Diablo 2. They may have mentioned it in Diablo 1, but that was a while ago. I don't really remember. So the Harem cube was in Diablo 2, allowed you to transmogrify, but in that game it was really more of like combining items to create other items, and that's how you got to like the cow level, for example. And I remember loving the cow level. And this game has some similar to the cow level, but it's full of rainbows and unicorns and teddy bears, and that's not a joke. That's literally what the level has in it. And as a barbarian, early on, later on, I'll change my companion, but early on, the Templar is probably my favorite to pick because he'll help keep you alive. Not that I'll have any problems per se, but he's good to have early on just to help keep you alive and help keep things going. I believe we're in Act 2. You can only use... oh, these are the Mystic items. Okay. So let's quickly put these in the Mystics. And then I noticed this, the wardrobe. This is also new, and I guess this is something that... well... okay, that's really weird. I guess it doesn't need to be here. It's right here, or you can press F1 apparently. Does F2 do it? Oh, they're apparently expanding into the F1 buttons. But I don't need that wardrobe. So, let's just start with some bounties. This series is going to be a mix of speed-ups and whatnot. Cuts and speed-ups. I don't want to necessarily... just do everything on camera for you guys. I'm trying to think of ways to keep it a little interesting. And if you can think of other ways, let me know. But if I want to keep Fraps running pretty much at all times, because then if something interesting does end up happening, I can more easily show you guys. So when you're doing a bounty, all 5 acts are open to you, and all of the enemies will scale to your level, but you'll see arrows and these little rings. That's just signifying that's somewhere that you want to go towards, because your bounty will have you doing and completing several different tasks on each map. This one is to kill 100 enemies and kill Hermit the Feared. I'm gonna lower that, actually. That and the effects. They're a little loud for me. So your things are a little different if you jump straight into adventure mode, because normally in story mode you wouldn't... ooh, cursed chest. You wouldn't be thrown at these types of enemies, different types of attacks, more of the rare mobs, but you definitely do when you jump straight into adventure mode. Ooh, so it's a little bit of different, and you'll easily see things like this, like plus 999 plus 999.9% recovery on that item because I have such low health at this low of a level, but the item is going to give me plus 12 life per hit. So you're going to see odd things like that early on, plus 40% health or damage. So that is how that goes. Okay, let's equip that. So I did find a build with the Barbarian that I was really happy with. So I'm going to try and build towards that again. But it's not going to start coming together until I'm in my 20s or my 30s. Level-wise, not age-wise. Because I am in my 20s. It would be really weird. Yeah, my build for Diablo is really dependent on how old I am. You just can't visualize the build until you're about your mid-30s. That's really where it becomes very optimal for you and your Diablo 3 experience. So it's a long investment. No, that's just not. That'd be really dumb, but I don't know, kind of interesting. I guess that's something that you could literally say with Diablo 2 because that game has been around so much, and you think differently when you get older. You probably have different builds now than you did when you were 10 and played Diablo 2. I mean, I was like 11 when I played Diablo 2. I probably would play that game a lot differently. So maybe that does actually hold up. Maybe it's just weird to think about now in the scope of my age and Diablo 3. Oh, slam that hammer. That came out wrong. So you'll also come across Cursed Chest in the world of Diablo. This one is Cursed Chest of the Predator. I gotta kill these 3 champion elites before the time ends. Sometimes you get a bonus chest. Sometimes you just... oh, if you beat it on time, come on, almost... Oh! Damn it! I was right there. I was close to beating it, and the chest blew up. I'm not allowed to open it because I didn't... I didn't win. Pretty much also, I'm thinking if I'm not talking, I'm probably going to cut it out or speed up that section. Because if I'm not talking, it's probably not a very poignant or important section. So, might as well cut that out. Woohoo! I love glowing chests. I don't need a magic bow, but thank you for giving it to me, I guess. But anyways, ground stomp. All right. I do like ground stomp. One of my builds later on, I was trading in and out certain skills, and ground stomp was one of them that I fooled around with a little bit later on. Early on, the ground pound, ground stomp is gonna be very crucial for you, especially when you get to elites or a group of elites. It's very easy to just stun them all real quick and then either run and heal or get some damage in on them. Okay, so heals you and the Templar for a percentage of your life. So right now it's only 230, but as we level, it's going to be way more than 230 because when you have 60,000 health, 230 health, not really worth it. And then taunt enemies within 10 yards taunt enemies within 10 yards of you for 3 seconds when you were hit. But I would rather go with heal. Makes more sense. Helps keep you alive. So I can keep killing in this area. Well, these guys were going to come and ruin me summoning my portal. But I was going to say, I could look around for more elite mobs like this group here, or I could look for like more resplendent chests or cursed chests or cursed shrines and things like that will certainly help you get level up faster because you'll get bonuses for the cursed shrines and chests if you can beat them. And obviously the elite mobs will, drop magic and rare items for you and give you more experience. But ultimately, when you're running a bunch of your bounties, it's just a good idea to just go quickly through your bounties, because you're also trying to build up the gemstones for the Nephilim obelisk. So that's something that you want to always be building towards. But while we're here real quick, let me break down all of my items that I found. They're not gonna be anything special yet. But later on, a lot of these items you want. So I could sell them and get some gold for them. And I can use that gold to upgrade my artisans, but ultimately I think that the materials are more worth it. All right, so this objective is enter the Chamber of the Lost Idol and help Poltar retrieve the Rignar idol. Some of them are pretty easy, like that last one was just go 100 feet, whatever, kill 100 mobs, kill this elite mob, and you're done. This one, I believe I have to travel to different maps and then get into that map. So let's just get on to it. I don't think this is it. One tactic I do want to talk about when it comes to trying to find goblins, however, if you're in an act or a map that has a lot of these like little rooms that you could go into and they're very quick to search, go into them and search them real fast, because this took me 10 seconds, but a goblin can spawn even in these rooms. So even if there wasn't a goblin up top, a goblin could have very easily been in here. And in Act 1, it's more pertinent because there's a lot of these small little buildings to go into. It's just it's not a surefire way to find a goblin, but it's a nice little tactic to try to speed up finding goblins. You're tripping that RNG faster and faster to potentially find a goblin. And the more goblins you find, the more chances you have to go to Wimshire, which is the crazy or the Mad Cow equivalent level, and the Greed Realm, which I really hope we find a Greed Realm during this series. So this guy is going to be a little tough to take care of. He's very tanky. I'm trying to take care of these guys around him, but they also seem to be tanky, and so this is going to be a long fight. I also may die, but I don't have to worry about running out of potions, so yay. And dead. All right. That probably was not worth it. Probably could have skipped it, but I got a magic bracers out of it. In reality, I probably should have just skipped him to farm more experience from Tyrael and the bounties. But it really kind of just depends on what the mood you're into. He's not worth. They're not. You kind of think about it in a how fast can you kill it? How much experience does it give you? So time to kill and experience ratios are a thing that you should or could look at. I mean, it depends on how hardcore you're going to get into it. It also just depends if you want to kind of have that David versus Goliath fight, because really early on, a lot of the harder elites that you're going to find are going to feel, not necessarily look, but they're going to feel like an end act fight, because they're going to be so much harder, because their percentages and their base stats are going to be harder, way higher. So even if they're relative to your level, relativity still kind of bites you in the ass a lot. So there's really not much you can do about that. So it depends on what your mood is, and I could have completely just avoided him and continued on my way, but now that I'm also realizing it, I went backwards. So let's get closer to the objective. Okay, here we are. I was also reading online that a lot of people are like mad. Diablo 2's second act was desert. Diablo 3's second act was desert. But the Horadrim kind of interests me in these crypts. It's very Egyptian-esque and it's really cool, and it's a really awesome aesthetic. And in the second act of Diablo 2, for example, one of the early act bosses, or one of like the quest bosses that you fight, is a giant like maggot that spits out other maggots. Like, it's disgusting, but it was a really awesome fight in that scenario, in that section of quest that you were doing, and you're caught up in everything. And holy crap, I'm in this underground tunnel. And that's when it also opened up to, there's a lot of optional elite bosses, not for quests. They're just boss type elites that are just there. And if you go down this cave, you could get to it if you really want. And it really started to open up a lot in that act. And it kind of does the same in this act, respectively, for Diablo 3. You got the more mystical but Egyptian-esque aesthetics with all the deserts, and that's when the Act 1, it kind of is like, here's some zombies and some otherworldly creatures, but we kind of take them as fact, but they're terrorizing our town. It's a very it's a very physical problem, whereas Act 2 in Diablo 2 and 3, you start to get into a more mythical, and that's probably where ethereal would come into play. You get to the more, we can't explain this, and it's there, but we need it to die and go away. That's where you came in, and it's different in this world where Diablo is a otherworldly being who's coming to this land, and the more he comes out and does his evil things, the more like skeletons are suddenly starting to pop up, and zombies and things are taking over and suddenly starting to kill you that probably wouldn't have killed you to begin with, or to start with, or would have never existed. And then you start getting into all of like the act bosses, and in Diablo 2 Tyrael has a different role, and you start getting into Mephisto, who I think is my favorite Diablo boss of all three games is Mephisto, and it's really cool lore if you decide to actually dig that deep. Okay, we're gonna go back to Bash here so that I can get more focused attacks, but also because we have our first rune, Frostbite. Each hit freezes the enemy for 1.5 seconds, and enemies can be frozen by Bash once every 5 seconds. So that will be helpful for elite mobs. And then Rend, which I don't have a rune for Hammer of the Ancients, but Rend is a pretty decent move. I initially had it in my skill build, but I eventually took it out. But early on, it's still pretty good. And my cat is scratching the back of my chair. What the hell that shaking was. I also love that this fucker that we're trying to help does nothing. Just does absolutely nothing and is completely useless. Damn you. The fate of the world didn't depend on helping you and stopping Diablo, or helping you trying to eventually stop bad things from happening. God. Unless you paid me well, in which case then I'll do whatever you want me to. Oh, I also should have mentioned that Rend does a massive amount of damage in an arc, and and it does a dot for 5 seconds. So it's a good way to try to rack damage up AoE style. Okay. So hopefully we'll start earning achievements soon. Which is also another aspect of Diablo 3. They're not Steam achievements, or I'm not playing this on the PS3. Not that there's seasons on the consoles, which I think is kind of crappy because that's how Christina plays Diablo 3 is on our PS4, and it'd be really cool if they could have seasons, but apparently it's probably a little bit more difficult than I give them credit for. But it's all on the back end, so I would assume they could. I don't know. But achievements are something that I also do like to do in this game. My Season 2 achievement score started to rival and become equal to my just regular account achievement score, and I thought that for me was a pretty big achievement, because that means I had done enough in the season in a way shorter amount of time than my whole account since launch. So that was really cool for me, and I hope to achieve the same thing, but no pun intended. But I think my achievement count or my achievement score is a lot higher now than when Season 2 started, so probably be a harder task this time around. No spectacular drops yet, but that's gonna start increasing the longer it goes on and the more I can kill. Help me get this idol. It's not ominous and not going to summon Frost Guardians at all. No. Because if we know anything about idols, viewers, they're not cursed ever in any form of media. Idols are perfect and just pieces of wood or marble. Ooh. I'll take those legs. Alright, and finally we get our first Rift Keystone Fragment, which I'm not going to use yet. And for blood shards, which that's also cool. My max blood shard count is 500 now. This is also something cool. We can increase our blood shard count with greater rifts. The more that I complete those, the higher my blood shard count can go. So instead of 500, eventually it can be 600, 700, 800, and that's really awesome. Instead of having a hard cap across your entire account of 400, that's really handy. All right, guys, this first episode is getting on a little long because I did a little bit of explaining. In the next episode, we'll go ahead and finish these last 3 bounties. Blood and Iron, kill Mage Lord Mizgan, and clear the Western Channel on, I don't know what I'm going to call this series. I guess we're just going to tentatively call it Diablo 3 Season 3. So thank you guys very much for watching this episode. If you liked it, please thumbs it up, send it to your friends, and comment. I did that out of order, so it threw me off. I would greatly appreciate it, however. So remember, play more games, and I will see you next time. Have a good day.